For the past 3 years, I have been training to break a nearly impossible world record. One non-stop session of standard 3-ball juggling, no drops, no whammies, no problem. How long? I can handle it. 1 hour? 2 hours? 12 hours. 12 hours and 5 minutes. This is a legitimate Guinness World Record, and in June of 2019, I decided to begin my absurd journey of breaking it. So I already knew how to juggle. I learned when I was like 9 years old. It had been a few years though, and I was admittedly a bit rusty. There are people out there who do this for a living, and they have this litany of eye-catching tricks and techniques, all of which are way above my pay grade. Seriously, how do you even do this? The record that I'm gunning for, it's all about endurance. By the end of 2019, I managed to capture a personal best of about 50 minutes. This was incredibly difficult. Most folks hit their limit at this level, but I'm not most folks, and I kept pushing more and more through 2020. I juggled for about an hour or two every evening. Wasn't just wasting time, listened to a lot of audiobooks. By the end of that year, despite the constant marathons, I only increased my personal best to 1 hour and 26 minutes. This was not looking possible. I started worrying that I had hit my physical limit. There are a number of problems that you are faced with when endurance juggling, like the standing problem. The pads of my feet were killing me. During juggling marathons, your body, it tenses up, especially if you tend to get out of rhythm, and the harder it gets to stand, the harder it gets to concentrate, and the harder it gets to concentrate, the easier it gets to Over time, I learned how to better control the height of my throws because too high of an arc causes neck strain, but nothing that I tried seemed to cure foot strain, the eye strain problem. It's easy when you're focusing to get your eyes all locked up, so several juggling sites that I studied recommended lots of blinking and looking off to the horizon or switching focus to the back wall every 15 minutes or so. However, as I'm sure you can imagine, when your eyes are away from your juggling balls, it is a lot harder. I spent a ton of time practicing juggling while out of focus. This is still super hard for me, and I am not good at it at all. The itchy nose problem. As best I can tell, my body's natural response to high pressure situations is to make the inside of my nose start tickling with the fury of 1,000 suns. I looked all over online juggling communities, and nobody talks about this. Is this like a me thing? Come to think of it, the itchy everything problem. Everything itches. My arms itch, my legs itch, my feet itch, my head itches. If it gets too unbearable, you've got to raise your throwing arch up to catch it and just see, it's impossible. How do you... The hunger problem. For the record, I can go 12 hours without eating, no problem. But I cannot go 12 hours without eating while maintaining solid hand-eye coordination. According to JuggleFit.com, that's a website, juggling burns around 280 calories per hour, or close to 3,400 calories within a 12-hour window. Your body is gonna burn energy while doing this for so long, and you need to find a way to stay fueled. But eating during the run, that presents another challenge, the bathroom problem. How did the guy who set this record go so long without using the bathroom? Or did he just go? Did he have an assistant? Did he have some kind of bathroom station set up to help him take care of business while taking care of his business? And if so, what did that look like? With my numbers still way too low and all of these problems presenting themselves, I went all in on juggling culture and tried my best to mimic the pros. While I began my training with generic tennis balls, I upgraded to some slightly more expensive juggling balls. And I gotta say, it actually did make a difference. Unlike tennis balls, these balls, They're filled with sand, which give a consistent directional weight with each throw, helping my timing, and they are way more comfortable than the scratchy surface of what I had been using. Later on, I upgraded to even more expensive balls, these from a specialist retailer that came highly recommended by several folks in the juggling community. They grip super easily, and the weight distribution when you're throwing them is just like, oh, it's perfect. Henry's High-X Russian. They're the convertible of juggling balls. With some better equipment and more time to practice, I increased my endurance a bit more, but it started to become abundantly clear to me that the record of 12 hours and 5 minutes, that was a mountain just too high. But when on a journey, we mustn't be afraid to ask directions from those who have already been where we think we need to go. And so, I found the man that set that record, and I asked him to impart to me his winning techniques.
For me, this is like walking. This is like totally a mindless activity for me, whether I'm going faster or slower. As long as even in my peripheral, I'll be fine.
His name is David Slick, and he's a professional magician from Texas. I lured him into an interview under the pretext of discussing life as a performer. This was a ruse. He performed a few tricks over the internet and gave me a taste of his show, which, by the way, can be booked if you are ever in need.
I'll give you a quick example.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ah.
These are professional juggling knives. I'll do a quick demonstration.
I feel like we're like moments from disaster. This is going to end up on Live Leak or something.
Could be. I gotta be careful with this mirror. Oh, I have to make it look difficult. I can go faster or just higher. You see, it slows down the higher I go.
But after all the fun stuff, I got down to business.
On July 22nd, 2009, you, David Slick, set the Guinness World Record for longest run of 3-ball juggling at 12 hours and 5 minutes. How?
You've done your research. That's correct. Yeah, that was a trip. That was a big endeavor. I had to practice my butt off. Well, I could only do about 2 hours because my muscles would just get all cramped up and just incredibly cramped. So I had to slowly build up my endurance. Did that at the North Richmond Hills Public Library from like 9 in the morning till 9 at night. I ended because the library wanted to close and the media that was there wanted to get the finish on TV that night. But yeah,
you could have gone longer.
I could have gone a little bit longer, yeah.
It turns out Slick ran into several of the same problems that I had been facing, but managed to find workarounds. For one, he solved the standing problem by sitting. Who'da thunk it? Turns out that the 3-ball record has no rules regarding what you do with the lower half of your body. Would have been nice to know at the start.
Had to focus my eyes at different depths because my eyes would just wear out and start to blur from constantly like staring at TV forever.
What if your nose itches? Or like there's a bunch in your clothing, or you get a wedgie? How do you deal with those like bodily adjustments without dropping?
You tough it out. The conditions of this record were very specific. Every throw that you do has to alternate hands. Left, right, left, right, left, right. This is pretty much what I did for 12 hours, 5 minutes straight. And I would just throw a little bit higher, give my hand a break, and I would just like stretch out between the throw before I have to catch it.
Did you have any close calls where you almost dropped?
About the 10 or 11 hour mark into it, my mom was being very nice and showed some initiative and walked over to the rope barrier that I had about 3 feet away from me. And to get my attention, she waved her hand, which I preferred she didn't do because I was using my eyes. I wasn't using my ears so much. And of course that got my attention. I was like, okay, what? And she asked me if I wanted to drink. And I said, no, thank you. And luckily I got back to it. And during that small distraction, one of them hit here on the very far side of my hand. Luckily, I, of course, caught it without having to do anything like that would have ended the record. So that was the closest call that I had.
That's mom's, though. She meant well.
Yeah, she was well intentioned. Yeah. I didn't have any food given to me. Little distractions as possible. Like I was paranoid focused.
Which, of course, brings us back to what I would consider the number one issue. Also the number two issue.
So the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear this, and I have to ask you,
I know it's coming.
what was the bathroom situation like?
Everyone asks me that, and I really don't care. In fact, I told reporters that day what the situation was, and they put it in the newspaper and such. Used a catheter. It was
you
all
catheter
external.
yourself?
Yeah, it was. Yes,
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No.
but it is very hard on your body doing anything straight for that amount of time, especially hundreds of hours practicing the same thing to do it. The record was just 12 hours. And I've actually gotten some emails from people around the world saying, hey, I saw your world record in the Guinness World Record book. I'm going to break it. So I reply back very nicely and say, okay, cool. Here's some advice. You want to do this? You want to do this? And no one's broken it. And that actually confounds me because that's a really popular record. There's millions of jugglers in the world that can juggle the basic juggling that I did. So I'm surprised no one's broken it by now. I check every now and again.
If you could do it again today, would you do anything differently than the way you did? Have you learned anything since then that would have made it easier to do?
I would not do it at all.
So here's where things stand. I started gunning for this record in June of 2019, and I gave myself a 3-year window to get it done. It has been 3 years, it is not done. I'm hovering around a 2-hour personal best, and I don't seem to be making much progress, partly because something dumb always seems to happen. I smashed my pinky on a bunch of camera equipment last year. That prevented me from being able to work on the record for a few weeks. Then I dislocated or possibly broke my ring finger on that same hand while playing volleyball with some friends. That really hurt. I had to take a month off. I could not use that hand well at all. It was all taped together. I developed a ganglion cyst in the middle of my other hand, which prevented me from catching. The point is, I failed. So instead of getting a video about how I broke the record, you all get a video about how the record broke me. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Do you have a talent, skill, business idea, or story that you'd like to share with the world? The best way to do it is with your own personal website. Squarespace gives you everything you need to get started. Choose from one of their stunning, customizable templates and then shape it to your specific needs. They've got tons of great features. If you want to start a podcast, their Audio Blocks feature can help you set one up in no time. If you want to make an online community, try member areas. And if you have goods or services to sell, they offer easy-to-use online storefronts. You can get started today by going to squarespace.com and beginning a free trial. It's free, honestly. Why not just try it out? If you like the experience, then when you're ready to launch your site in full, head over to squarespace.com/AustinMcConnell, and you can save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain.